Thank you so much, Steve, and to the GHP and everybody here. Let's give everybody a big round of applause. Thank you so much for helping make our community so competitive. And of course, the kids from the Imani school had to go back to class, but the kids that recited the pledge were first and second graders, and the kids that sang the national anthem were seventh and eighth graders. And so we'll pass on the message of how thrilled everybody was to see them. I'm sure they'll be really excited. And of course, everybody recognized already the members of the Consular Corps, elected officials, but my colleague, Commissioner Ellis, is here. I want to make a special recognition, and always all my colleagues on Commissioner's Court. I appreciate Commissioner Briones, Garcia, Ramsey. It's such an honor, Mayor Whitmire, to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. Congresswoman Garcia, and of course, so many other folks in the room that I know I cannot name everybody, but we've gone around, and I just really appreciate everybody taking the time. There's somebody else I'd like to recognize just briefly, and we supported each other at a lot of events like this one, and that is the late Mayor Sylvester Turner. So let's have a brief moment of silence in his honor and memory. Thank you. Thank you all so much, and I know a lot of people miss him just like I miss him. So let me thank somebody else, and I'll tell you why before I thank them. It was April 21st of this year, and I know Sheriff Gonzalez and DA Tier will know what I'm talking about, and a lot of the folks downtown. So, downtown is buzzing with activity, like always. There were jurors lining up outside the jury assembly building, getting ready to go in and see and do their jury duty. And then shots rang out in the middle of downtown. There was a man who probably needed to be in a psychiatric institution, shooting indiscriminately. There were windows that were shot at and were broken. Obviously, as I said, multiple shots in every direction. The assailant ultimately was hurt and subdued. But aside from that, despite the activity downtown, despite the indiscriminate nature of the shots, only one other person was harmed, and that was Deputy Jones. Deputy Jones normally patrols one of the county buildings and ran towards the assailant before having any backup and subdued the assailant, was shot in the back. If it weren't for the bulletproof vest, Deputy Jones would have been terribly injured, if not worse. And so let's all give a warm round of applause to Constable Precinct 1 Deputy Sheila Jones. And a big round of applause to all our law enforcement that is here today that keeps us safe every day. Thank you. And Deputy Jones, this is her son there on the slide. Both of her sons are also law enforcement officers. So we appreciate you, Deputy, and your family. And I start with this because, of course, the most important part of our county being strong is our county being safe. And we know our county is strong when our public safety is strong. So I want to share with you guys this chart, and you'll see that in the time I've been in office, we've grown investments in public safety, and this does not include corrections. And that by 37%, about $500 million. It is $1.7 billion in the budget that just passed. And earlier this year, Commissioner Ellis and I proposed that we go to the voters to request a $100 million raise for law enforcement officers, as it's it's long overdue. I've been advocating for this since 2022. Very much appreciate these officers. And there are some other initiatives that also contribute to the state of our county when it comes to public safety. 13,000 is the number of folks who have been part of our RISE program, and that program seeks to identify and support people at higher risks of committing crimes. So normally it's young men in high crime areas where there are a lot of gangs, and so we will support them with mental health, with mentorship, and we've seen the outcomes of that program be very successful. That 21% is the reduction in homelessness, and this is a partnership, of course, that's been going on for several years between the city and the county. And the latest count is from 2024, but it shows that 21% reduction in homelessness. $20 million, our investment the past few years on mental and behavioral health. As you know, it's a very personal topic for me, and it's various different initiatives, but one that I really like, and with the kids having been here, is we have a professional at 163 campuses across 6 school districts in Harris County, focused solely on students' mental health. And of course, we need a whole lot more of that. And this is one of the programs that is under threat because of the challenging budget situation that we're facing right now. So why so many kids? There's, of course, our early childhood investments. We know that kids who have access to high-quality early childhood education are more likely to graduate from high school. They are more likely to earn higher wages. And how does this connect to public safety? Kids who are able to take part in high-quality early childhood education also are less likely to commit crimes and to end up in the criminal justice system. 90% of police chiefs in a survey conducted by this group called the First 5 Years. It is a federal advocacy organization, and they support bipartisan initiatives on early childhood. They found 90% of police chiefs believe if we were to invest more in early childhood education, we would see major impacts in terms of the reduction in the crime rate in the future. And so we've been working to that end. One of the achievements I'm proudest of, and I share this with my colleagues on the Commissioner's Court, is how we've contributed to the future strength of our county and a better state of the county because of our early childhood education investments. Over the past 3 years, 60,000 kids, 60,000 families, I should say, in Harris County have been served through early childhood and after-school programs. And that, of course, is a huge investment in the state of our county and the strength of our county. So one of the things that I've heard from folks is, there was a ballot initiative or some sort of discussion about a ballot item at Commissioner's Court, and as you guys know, it didn't pass, and I was very passionate about it. And folks have been asking me questions about this since, so I thought it will be a good opportunity for me to answer the questions that I've gotten, a lot of them from leaders like you. Why? Because you all understand that our workforce depends on what we do right now for those kids that are going to grow up and be our future workforce. And you are the movers and shakers who are going to be able to spread the word about what we're trying to do. And also, a lot of you have been able to get to where you are while raising children, so you know how hard it is. So let me just answer some of the questions that I've heard. What was the proposal? Early childhood proposal. On August 7th, we brought a proposal to Commissioner's Court. It was a penny tax, so that means a penny for $100 valuation, $24 for the average homeowner in Harris County in additional taxes per year. That would have served around 25,000 families every year, generating around $60+ million each year. And so that is a program that was going to continue programs that exist, that are here right now that have been running for years. So have we talked about early childhood education before? Those of you who have been to my previous State of the County addresses know that the answer is yes. I have mentioned the importance of early childhood education in every State of the County address. I may not be a mom, and I'm certainly not a teacher, but I do understand the importance in early childhood education, and I think you don't have to be a parent or a teacher, somebody who works with kids, in order to do so. And so we've held around 13 town halls, at least 13 town halls on this topic, with providers, with parents, with teachers over the past few years, at least 12 press conferences, many of them alongside my colleagues, and every time I've been asked about how we're going to keep paying for early childhood, I've always talked about we will do it through some sort of a ballot item. So, okay, so how have we been paying for these programs? 60,000 children. So you see President Biden here. So a few years ago, the Biden-Harris administration distributed the American Rescue Plan dollars. You guys might have heard about them as ARPA dollars. Harris County, being so large, as Steve was mentioning, received $1 billion. Our county budget every year is normally $4.7 billion. Of that, only about $2 billion goes to our general budget. In other words, not to the hospital district, not to the port, etc., not to flood control. So it's $1 billion was, very significant amount for us. So how did we decide how much money was going to go to early childhood education? There was a committee. I know we all love committees. There was a committee with one representative from each office on the county commissioner's court, each commissioner, my office, and together these representatives decided to invest the largest amount of money out of that $1 billion pot, which is $149 million, into early childhood initiatives, because we've understood, yeah. So all the kids you guys see, we have great photographers. I know these look like stock photos, but those are kids in our communities who participated in our programs. And so the early childhood 0 to 4, and then after school and summer programs, of course, runs the gamut. And so really to get politicians to agree on something like putting the largest chunk into early childhood education is harder than getting toddlers to agree on a bedtime. So that American Rescue Plan dollars, sure, it was $1 billion, a lot of money, but we knew it was going to run out. So why would we use one-time funding to cover those programs? And the answer is that was always the plan. We have been working for years on this, as I said, and as you guys know, early childhood education is nothing new. So there are groups around the country that are dedicated to studying early childhood, to making initiatives successful in their implementation, and the best practice was to have proof of concept and an infrastructure before going to the voters. And this is a bipartisan issue. So in Platte County, Missouri, in Escambia County, in Florida, of course, Travis County, Austin, here in Texas, they went to the voters before building the infrastructure. We did it the other way around so that we could say, here's how we do it, and we know it's really hard to build the infrastructure to support 25,000 families. We already have it. So we did not put the cart before the horse. We got the cart, we got the horse, and we got a little stable for good measure. Thank you for chuckling. Since the county is facing a budget deficit, why not go to the voters with a proposal to fund everything? So we are at a $200 million deficit. Is not normal, enormous amount of money, and I'll talk about that more with Steve later. But so what happened is one of my colleagues and I, we proposed in 2024, August 2024, or September 24, August 2025, we knew that our revenue is decreasing more and more and more as our population is increasing, so we're going to have to start looking at cuts. And so we said, well, why don't we go to the voters and see if they would like to keep those services, basic services. We could not get the support of the rest of our colleagues. So I knew that I didn't have the support to ask for us to make up those cuts. And if you guys remember the first chart on the law enforcement investment increases, before I took office, it was larger overall because they had more money. The tax rate was always the same under my predecessor. We've had to decrease the tax rate, and I know taxes are high. Trust me, I so can't afford property taxes. I don't own a home. I rent an apartment. But a lot of it has to do with the school districts, and anyway, that's another conversation. So, I knew that it was ambitious to ask for a broad item to be approved by my colleagues, so I focused on early childhood. And by ambitious, that is government speak for good luck with that. Are there not other entities that fund early childhood education? HISD, some other school districts, they fund pre-K, but that doesn't take care of the youngest kids. And that is such an important time. As I said, it's 0 and upwards from there. We have the state. They sent $100 million, which is very significant, but that's for the entire state of Texas, and that's one-time funding. So if you remember, we'll be doing $60 million per year just in Harris County, and that does not include all of the need. So there has been an analysis on this is the Center for the Developing Child at Harvard University about the return on investment. You put in $1, you get $9 back. So we know it's important, but in Harris County, there are 17,000 families that still need early childhood education, even with our program. So our program, plus whatever the private foundations are doing, plus what different levels of government are doing, that still leaves 7,000 families. And that doesn't even include the families that can afford early childhood but can't find a program. Those are only the families that cannot afford it. So the need is very large, and we have worked as we design these programs to make sure that there is no duplication of efforts. And so I had another funny joke, but I realized I'm gonna, oh, I remember now. So that all of these investments together are the tip of the iceberg, but not really the tip of the iceberg. They're the tip of the Titanic. And I know that doesn't make sense. And here is why I'm making these jokes. And if I had come up with them myself, I don't know that they would have been a whole lot better. But these we can blame on AI. So these are jokes that ChatGPT wrote. So, and Steve was talking about AI, and so I just wanted to see what the robots could do, but I think we're still ahead of them in jokes. So why did we make the early childhood proposal this year? Why not next year? The $1 billion that we have used to support these thousands and thousands of families, 60,000 plus families, that will run out at the end of 2026. And so that means that the only way for all these families to not lose their early childhood education, these are some of the kiddos that they go to school right now with our funding, and they're not about to age out of early childhood. So they will lose their spot in early childhood education in December of 2026. The only way to prevent that was to go to the voters this year and for the voters to support the proposal. If we go to the voters next year, we will have to go back to bid through the county RFP process, which takes about 6 months, to select the providers, to select the evaluators, the program administrators, and then it takes even longer for them to hire their subs when we could have just evaluated and expanded programs and contracts otherwise. So essentially, if we go to the voters any year other than this one, and it's not possible to go this year anymore, the shortest amount of time that these families will be without programs is a year. So that's why it was so urgent for us to pass it this year. Okay, well, but how do you know the programs are good? First of all, I don't ask whether you evaluate middle school or high school or college. We don't evaluate it in terms of, is it worthwhile? Of course it's worthwhile. Early childhood education is worthwhile. But As the Harris County Commissioners Court, the 5 of us voted on an independent evaluator. So there went through the request for proposals process done through the independent purchasing agent, and an independent evaluator was selected. 80-page evaluation on these programs, these slots for kids, and they found that and evaluated the first 2 years of the program, which, we can't wait until the kids turn 18 to see if what they do, but we can certainly see how the program is going. And the responses and the analysis showed that the programs were successful. Okay, well, you say that it would have been good if we had put that on the ballot this year, but how do you know the voters would have supported the proposal? We did a poll. So we hired FM3. It is a well-respected pollster. They've done polling on bipartisan issues, specifically ballot items. They made everything statistically significant. It was a sample of potential voters that were likely to vote in this election, and it found that 2/3 of the voters wanted to see the investments in early childhood education. A large majority said they would have voted for it. So that's why we felt so confident. And this is not a surprise. Early childhood education is popular because everybody understands why it's important. So put another way, if early childhood education were a stock, it would be soaring. ChatGPT again. Okay, well, so did you keep this proposal from your colleagues? We spoke, my office staff spoke with every office on the Commissioner's Court for weeks before bringing this proposal forward. There was one office that did not respond. Other than that, met with the other ones. In addition, as I mentioned, all of us via our staff have been collaborating for not months but years on designing these programs. And if the proposal had passed, then all of us on Commissioner's Court would have had the opportunity to do even more community engagement and work together on the implementation of the plan. So, which is to say, enough collaboration has been done to satisfy any management consultant. So then you might wonder, and here we're getting to the end of this, has the county ever tried to do a ballot proposal like this before? Actually, we have. So in 2013, there was a group that collected 80,000 signatures from voters, registered voters, that wanted to see early childhood education put on the ballot. The judge at the time, my predecessor, said, and I quote, that it was the strangest policy idea he had heard in his entire career. And so this is a clip of an ABC 13 article from August 28th, 2013. So this happened. So what this shows you, in my mind, is a bipartisan reticence at the politician level to support early childhood education, when at the community level there is huge support for it. And this disconnect between the politics and the needs of the community does not stay with one party or the other. The blue hat politicians and the red hat politicians are doing this, and it's just not okay. So, as I said, $9 return on investment for every dollar spent, a kind of ROI that business would love, any business would love. I challenge you to find something else that is that impactful and would contribute more to the state of our county. So what happens now? As I explained, these kids are going to lose access to the programs. The families that, our teachers and our business owners and all kinds of professions that depend on these programs to take care of their kids are going to lose those programs for an entire year. But it could be longer if we don't put this on the ballot next year. So it's really important that we put this on the ballot in November of 2026. There is no excuse not to do it. And so it'll still be devastating for families, but there are good news. We had a letter signed by a lot of respected community and business leaders, again, of both parties, in support of the ballot item. We just wanted to ask the people, whether they would support early childhood education. That was what we needed to vote on in Commissioner's Court, is are we willing to put it on the ballot and ask folks? So that would be the same vote next year. Those members of the community leaders that supported us, they're forming a committee to help advance this from now into next year. And so I hope that you guys get involved with this issue and pay attention to it, and so that next year we don't find ourselves in the same situation we faced in 2025 and in 2013 and it's even worse now because we have the programs and they have been evaluated and they are successful, and there's been collaboration, and there's been thoughtful design. So it'll give us also an opportunity to engage more communities, more stakeholders. We can absolutely look at the bright side of this, and I hope that you'll join me in doing that. Earlier on, we talked about ChatGPT writing the jokes, and that wasn't just me. It was me trying to be funny, but it was also, there was a purpose to it, which was to turn our attention toward AI. We cannot be arguing about ABCs when we need our kids to be thinking about AI. We cannot be arguing about whether kids should have support to learn to count when we need them to learn how to code. And so as we think about the future of our community, all the competitiveness, frankly, communities around the country and around the world have moved past this early childhood many times over. So we need to get there. We have a Truth Center on our website, the county website. So don't be shy. Take out your phones. Check the QR code. The poll is there. The independent evaluation is there, and also these questions with a little bit more detail. So please don't take my word for it. Look at it yourself, because this is something that we should not be spending our time fighting over. It's just such a backwards thing to be arguing about whether this should be put to the voters. So anyway, changing subjects here. What are some other wins? This is a picture with an iron worker. So we launched a fantastic apprenticeship program with my colleagues, and it has trained over 1,000 apprentices who are earning while they learn, and just very, very thoughtful programs. Again, really filling all the needs in our workforce. Here are some folks who have graduated or aged out of the foster care system. The statistic is, in the region, around 200 youth per year age out of the foster care system. Around a quarter of youth aging out of the foster care system end up homeless. And so when I first took office, I remember we were moving dirt on what was going to be the Hay Center, and that is 50 beds for youth aging out of foster care and wraparound services. So that pretty much serves the needs for our region for these kids, and that way prevents homelessness. I want to share also about the climate justice plan. I know it sounds a little bit fuzzy, but I've received calls from other jurisdictions word is spreading around that we have a really great one. So this is one of the town halls we did to develop the climate justice plan, extensive public engagement, including with business leaders, and it's about how do we look 100 years into the future? How do we look at housing? How do we look at sustainability for the entire county? Harris County is a geographic region. And we're working to try to turn the page on disaster response. We've completed a lot of the flood control projects that folks voted for. I continue to advocate for us to be able to do more. One of the ones I'd like to highlight is the program project that has a complicated name, but we call it the Clear Lake Gates project. And so what it does is it has rebuilt and brought back to usefulness some gates that prevent water from the bay from running into Clear Lake and flooding homes. And so that is completed. We've already seen it in action, and it's one that I'm particularly excited about. So we have all these projects around the country, around the county, and then $1 billion. So you guys helped us with this $1 billion. That was a vote that the community took, that you all wanted us to invest more in maintaining our flood control projects. So we are doing that, and we have them on a better maintenance cycle, which of course is vital. You know, just like a car, you gotta keep it going. We have made our community healthier by de-leading 800 homes and by testing 20,000 folks for lead exposure who have lived in areas and homes built when there was lead there. We have taken more than 4,000 criminals with outstanding warrants off the streets through the VIPER Task Force, the Violent Persons Task Force. This is, of course, a partnership with the sheriff and my colleagues. This is since 2022. And then, of course, and we're all excited about this, we stand to bring to our region $1 billion, another $1 billion, with the FIFA World Cup. And so that's going to be the equivalent of 7 Super Bowls in 2 weeks. It'll take place in Houston, but it'll take place in Harris County Stadium at NRG. And so we're all really excited about it. I look forward to working on that, continuing to work on that with you, Mayor Wetmeyer. So this is I think the last one in this sequence, and it's one of my personal favorites. I know we have a new Consul General here that just arrived from Sweden and Finland, and we've got a business that came from Quebec. They're bringing 13 businesses next week or next month to try to figure out more trade and investments. We've got one of our participants, the head of Rugged Robotics, who came with us on the Paris trade mission. So the 50 has to do with that. 50 foreign companies are coming to Harris County in the next year as a direct result of our trade mission to Paris. This is Valérie Baraban. She used to be the Consul General of Paris, or France, here in Houston, and she's now been named ambassador to Botswana. So I told her, you know, I look forward to hopefully staying in touch because she helped us bring this forward. So it was a successful initiative, collaboration with the Greater Houston Partnership. Really, it was you guys that drove this, Rice University as well, and of course, just so many folks that came with us. So another thing that's really a no-brainer, a competitive county. It's a zero-sum game. We compete. If we don't get the business, somebody else is going to get that business, and that's why I'm wearing this big pin. It used to belong to former Secretary of State Madeleine Albright, and so I brought it on the trade mission. And as you guys know, I was born in Colombia. I grew up in Peru and Mexico. I did work in Southeast Asia and in Egypt and China. So I'm very well positioned to do international work, and I like to think I'm a good advocate for Harris County. And I've got this brooch, which, you know, is just so meaningful. So what am I hoping to accomplish in the next year? A couple of things. We can always make the state of the county stronger. Of course, public safety and disaster response is always there at the top of the list. But here are some other issues. I am committed to getting early childhood actually on the ballot and giving people the opportunity to vote on it. That's on early childhood mental health. So this is a summit that we did with football players talking about their own mental health experiences. So you'll recognize a couple of guys here. Very powerful to hear them talk about mental health treatment, inpatient treatment, group therapy, different when they talk about it than when I talk about it. And it was a successful event, and I want to work to try to make it so people that need those services can access them. Cute dog, however, there are parts of our county where stray dogs terrorize the community, and it's not an exaggeration. They attack kids. They are sick, and so we need to address the risk of stray animals. It's something I want to work on tackling as well. And then, of course, we all know that human trafficking is an issue in our area, and there have been a lot of efforts to try to curb it, but there's more left to be done. And then, of course, this is another picture from our Paris Trade Mission. This was a conference on the future, and President Macron came and spoke about AI, and it was all, foreign trade and, these incredible folks. And so I hope to be able to continue leading other trade missions, because I think our city, our county are absolutely incredible, and people love hearing about it. We all know this by heart, but when I tell them, I know we have some folks from MD Anderson here, when I tell folks that we are the Center for Med Tech, that we've got the port, that we've got NASA, and of course, energy capital, I mean, they just thought we rode around on horses. So, and you guys have seen this, so it's really important, especially today, to go out there and promote Harris County and Houston. So I think we all want to see a county that is forward-thinking. We want to see a county that invests in kids like the ones that were here. That we want to see a county that invests in our economy through trade missions. We want to see leadership that is guided by our values rather than expediency. We have to be fearless in building what the community deserves. And I bet you that if we fight for early childhood education, I think the community would like that. That's what the poll showed. So I know everybody in this room is so committed to Houston and Harris County. I want to thank you. Thank you for your partnership. Thank you for your time. And I'm just so excited to continue working with you and to see what comes next. Thank you.
All right, have a seat. Thank you very much. You covered a lot of ground there. We will go through a few questions, and we will get you all out on time, on schedule. So you talked a little bit about where you grew up and some other places that you worked. What's your Houston story? How did you get here?
Well, the U.S. was always the shining city on a hill, and so when I hear folks complaining about a country or a region, for me it's like, it's always was and always will be the shining city on a hill, and compared to so many places around the world, I mean, this really is the land of opportunity. So my parents dreamt of us studying in the U.S. Dad was able to get a job here that sponsored our citizenship.
Here in Houston?
Here in Houston. And so I became a U.S. citizen in 2013, which was 5 years before I ran for office, which just tells you what a wonderful place this is.
Very good. And you went to Stanford?
Went to Stanford, and it was, a lot of it was actually scholarships from the community. So I remember my dad sitting down saying, we can't pay for Stanford. It's like $50,000 a year, so we're proud of you, but... and then I applied, and I remember I got a big scholarship from the Jesse Jones Foundation. I always tell this to Jay when I see him. And then I think Ronald McDonald House gave me a scholarship. Oh my gosh, all the scholarships. And then I was able to study, and I studied political science. I thought I was going to do international development, okay? I was not planning on doing this, but here we are.
Very good. So I have to ask you, are you running for re-election?
Yeah, that's the question that everybody has, and I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to break news on that here today, but it is coming very, 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 very soon.
Okay, thank you. So how do you explain, like when I first came to Texas back in the 90s, I didn't know what a county judge was, right? How do you explain what the county judge and commissioner's court do when you're talking to somebody from outside the state or outside the country? How do you describe the role?
Normally, I try to avoid the term judge because if you say the term and then you explain, as soon as you finish, they ask me where I went to law school. And so just avoid that at all costs. And I explain I'm the county executive. In other states, they call my role the county mayor, the county president. So, I'll take either of those. And then there's county executive as well. So that's the equivalent. And so I say I, along with my colleagues, help manage the budget for the county, works on issues from flood control to libraries, to mosquito control, you name it. Of course, law enforcement. And so we also, and I say I also am the director of emergency management. And I'd like to say I'm also the biggest cheerleader and advocate for our county. So yeah, people get confused. I've found internationally what helps is I ask them, what's the level of government, larger than a city, smaller than a state, and they have something.
Yeah, okay. So you mentioned the budget. We're facing a budget deficit at the county level, about 270, about 10% of the general fund budget. How do you plan to close that? What are you thinking while still delivering on services?
Yeah, so first it's like, how does that happen, right? As business leaders or just people that have budgets, you don't spend more money than you have. And so, again, it just totally baffling. So there have been several proposals that have come before the Commissioner's Court that we could not afford. This has been over the last year. And we cannot afford it because of state constraints on our revenue. And so our budget director has advised us to say no every time. And nobody wants to say no. I mean, everybody wants to say yes, but if you don't have the money, you don't have the money. And so I've got this chart, and I'll put it in the Truth Center too, where you can see all the various requests. And same colleagues didn't vote for early childhood, voted for these expenses, added up to $100 million. And then the raises for law enforcement that we wanted to put to the voters, out of the blue. I mean, this had not been discussed. This had not been, it just came out of nowhere that day. And of course, I always want to collaborate, negotiate, let's figure it out. And I was told, no, we're just going to vote on it. $100 million to give raises to law enforcement, which I support. I've supported for years. But we don't have $100 million, and we already were $100 million in the hole. So now we're $200 million in a deficit. And so what do you do? So, of course, we have to cut things. That's one option. And the other option is we have to somehow reduce that deficit. So on the cutting piece, I've put together a summary of the proposed cuts. Okay, what about efficiencies? We've done efficiencies as our revenue has been constrained over the past few years. Right now, what we've heard from department heads specifically, the DA would have to shrink the mental health desk that diverts folks arrested that need to be diverted to mental health treatment. The Institute of Forensic Sciences would have to cut staff and create longer wait times for autopsies. The public health department, the library. I mean, there are things, all of them to that level, so they are basic services. So I think that, the folks who created this deficit need to be sort of own the cuts that are being caused, or put the $100 million on the ballot next year, because I think the community would support a $100 million pay increase for law enforcement. But let's see. If they don't want to see it, then we're going to cut. If they do want to see it, then we can keep the basic services and increase the pay. So that's sort of how those are the two options that I see. My focus is on educating the community. And as I said, part for negotiation is really over, because we just have to cut. And the departments are already sending us what they have to cut, but it is pretty serious stuff.
Let's talk about resilience and flood control in particular. And so, and I appreciate both the county and the city experts who have been helping educate our business community on what's already been done and what remains to be done. And it's been very informative. I think what a lot of people don't realize, most of our work, we've still got to do a lot of work, obviously, but we've made a lot of progress. If you compare what happened in the Med Center in Allison to what happened after Harvey, if you look at even power restoration, we do better. I think we tend to invest. We learn, we invest, and we do better. What do you think lies ahead for us on flood resiliency, flood and control and resiliency?
It's something we need to continue working on, a bold vision. You know, we are looking into the tunnels and at the same time continuing to build and maintain our flood control projects, focusing on the worst areas first. But look, after Beryl, a quarter of people said in a poll that they wanted to move. Insurance rates going up by 17%. So it's a big problem. It's something that we keep front and center. And in the immediate term, FEMA, right, we know is under attack. Normally, we receive a lot of support from FEMA after a major disaster. It's funding that we simply don't have, a scale that we don't have. And so right now I'm also fighting to make sure that we make the contribution we need to our rainy day fund, because one of the cuts that we have to implement because of this $200 million deficit is to not contribute to our rainy day fund, hoping that we will receive about $70 million that the federal government is supposed to send us, but of course, you know, we can't count on that. So that's another thing very important to me, so that when we, you know, hopefully if, but really when, we have another major emergency, we have that rainy day fund to properly respond.
So there's a lot of talk in our community about our image and our brand, and generally what I hear is we're a lot better place than we get credit for, right? What's your perception? What do you hear, and what do you think, if anything, we can do about it?
I think, you know, getting out there and talking about it, I was surprised to talk to these companies and ministers, and I even got to chat with President Macron himself and talking about the, you know, Houston and Harris County, and they're like, oh, I didn't know that. So I get it. I mean, I think we do wear cowboy hats. Certainly during rodeo season, but I saw somebody here with a cowboy hat earlier. There we go. All right. And so we can both do that and also be a place with so much innovation. And especially now that we are taking this sort of isolationist approach at the federal level, these jurisdictions and even at the country level, they are really hungry for engagement because they're excited to continue that trade, and of course the tariffs affect whether or not we want to continue the trade, but they always are going to be looking for that engagement.
Okay, we're going to wrap up without policy questions, but what's one city that you haven't been to but want to visit, and what's your favorite thing to do in Houston?
Okay, so the city one is a tough one. I was thinking, so I've been to the island of Borneo, the Brunei side of it, and I've been to Kuala Lumpur for work, and I've been to Bali because, you know, it's nice, but I've never been to Jakarta, and I feel like, you know, I'm kind of counting out the rest of Indonesia, so I'd like to go to Jakarta. And then as far as what I like to do in town, I'm 5'2" on a good day, so I take boxing lessons, and my coach is an Olympian, and she's also a mental health advocate. So that I really enjoy doing, and it's a very, very Houston thing. All kinds of folks train there. It's a lot of fun, and I think I can throw a good punch.
Very good, very good. Thank you so much, Judge Hidalgo, for being here.
Thank you so much. Thanks, you guys.
And thank you all for being here. I think we're going to show on the screen, we've got some upcoming events. This is a busy season for us. This is just the month of September. So please mark those down. Look forward to seeing you at future Greater Houston Partnership events. Thank you all. Have a great rest of the day, and we are on time.